Check the document in my drawer.
Your father has willed everything to me. Get out of my house now. I will enjoy everything your mother suffered for.
Amaka, how far?
I told you he wouldn't give me trouble.
He has left.
Everything is
I
mine
told you
now.
he wouldn't give
The
me
house,
trouble.
The cars, the
These soft
accounts.
things that
I will
woman
enjoy
refused to
them.
enjoy before she died. I will enjoy them. Hey there, pour a cup of tea, get comfy, and let your heart listen. The story's about to start. Welcome to Tales Vibe, where laughter and lessons flow together. If you love a good story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more tales every week, and please tell us where you're watching from in the comments. We'd love to know where our story family is tuning in from. The house in Maitama was quiet after everyone left. Family members, friends, and business partners had come to pay respect to Chief Obinna. And now the chairs were empty, the plates were cleared, and the compound felt like a place waiting for a new order. Chima sat alone in the sitting room. His black suit felt heavy on him. He kept looking at the framed picture of his father on the center table. Every time he blinked, he remembered the last conversation they had. Chief Obinna had held his hand and said in a slow voice, "Chima, check the papers in my study. Don't forget." At the time, Chima did not understand why those papers mattered so much. Now the words stayed in his mind like a drumbeat. Auntie Amaka came down the stairs with a soft sigh, the kind that people use to show they are still grieving. She held a white handkerchief and dabbed her eyes even though her makeup was untouched. She walked past Chima without looking at him, then stopped and turned back with an empty smile. "Chima, my dear," she said, sitting opposite him. "Your father was a good man. We all tried our best for today." Chima nodded. He did not trust his voice. Auntie Amaka folded her hands neatly on her lap and continued. "You need to be strong now. Everything is in order. The lawyer has done his part. We must all move on." Chima looked at her properly for the first time. She looked calm, too calm, almost like someone waiting for a result she already knew. Something about her expression made his chest tighten. "Have you eaten?" she asked. "No, Ma. You should try. Tomorrow will be better." She stood up again and walked out with quiet steps. But once she turned the corner, her posture changed. Chima could see it from where he sat. Her shoulders straightened, her walk became faster, her face lost the fake sadness. It was as if she finally dropped a heavy mask. Chima swallowed hard. Something wasn't right. He got up and walked into his father's study. The door was unlocked. The room still had his father's chair, his books, and his wooden desk. Chima walked to the drawer his father always kept locked. He touched the handle. It did not open. The key was missing. He sat in the chair, staring at the drawer. His father's last words returned again and again. "Check the papers in my study. Don't forget." Chima clenched his fists. He did not know what the papers meant, but he felt in his bones that they would change something. Maybe everything. He whispered to himself, "Papa, I won't forget." The night after the burial marked the beginning of a journey Chima never planned for. And the house he grew up in was about to become a battlefield he did not see coming. Chima was still seated in Chief Obinna's study the next morning when he heard footsteps along the corridor. The quietness of the house made the sound sharper. He stood up quickly and wiped his face with his palm. The locked drawer still sat in front of him like a question he couldn't answer. A knock sounded on the study door. Before Chima could respond, the door opened and Auntie Amaka stepped in. She wore a different expression today, still calm, but firmer, as if she had already arranged her mind for whatever would happen next. "Chima," she said, "the lawyer is here. He wants us in the sitting room." Chima nodded and followed her. His heart beat faster, not out of fear, but because he hoped the reading of the will might give him a clue about the papers his father mentioned. In the sitting room, Barrister Yude stood beside his briefcase. He greeted both of them politely, adjusting his glasses. He had been Chief Obinna's lawyer for many years and knew the family well enough to speak freely, yet respectfully. "Thank you for gathering," he began. "Your father's instructions were clear. The will must be opened today." Chima sat quietly. Auntie Amaka sat beside him, her shoulders straight, her hands folded neatly across her lap. She kept her face blank, but Chima noticed the slight movement of her fingers, like someone waiting to hear something important. The lawyer opened the envelope and removed several papers clipped together. "I will begin," he said. He cleared his throat and read. "I, Chief Obinna Okafor, declare this to be my last will." Auntie Amaka leaned forward slightly. The lawyer continued. "To my wife, Amaka Okafor, I leave the house in Maitama and all items inside it." Amaka released a slow breath. Her chest lifted slightly, and a small smile touched her lips before she wiped it away quickly. Chima felt a sting in his chest, but he kept listening. And to my son, Chima Obinna, I leave the contents of my personal safe and any documents contained inside. Chima blinked. That was it? Just the safe? Just papers? He looked at the lawyer. He looked at Auntie Amaka. She was already sitting straighter, her eyes shining as if everything was happening exactly as she expected. Barrister, you'd closed the folder. This is the full reading of the will he left with me. Silence filled the room. Auntie Amaka stood up smoothly. Thank you, Barrister, she said. Chief Obinna was a good man. I will take care of everything. She touched her chest dramatically. As he wished. Then she turned to Chima, her smile thin. We will talk later. Chima remained seated, his mind racing. His father's will looked simple, almost too simple. But the locked drawer in the study, his father's last words, kept echoing in his head. The papers in my study. Don't forget. Something was missing. Something big. Chima felt it. And soon he would see it. Chima remained in the sitting room long after Barrister you'd left. The lawyer's briefcase had barely touched the ground before Auntie Amaka walked him to the door with a confidence that didn't match the occasion. The moment they stepped out, Chima felt a shift in the house, like something had just been handed over, but not in the way his father intended. He stared at the last place the lawyer stood. The house belongs to Amaka. The safe belongs to me. The words repeated themselves in Chima's mind like a chant he couldn't escape. He didn't notice when Auntie Amaka re-entered the sitting room. She closed the door slowly behind her and gave him a long look, her smile thoughtful, almost rehearsed. Chima, she said gently, we need to talk. Chima turned toward her, waiting. She sighed once, then sat down opposite him. You know this house is very big. Maintaining it is not small work. I don't want you stressing yourself here. She folded her hands, the same way she did during the will reading. I think it's time for you to start your own life. Chima frowned slightly. Start my own life? Here. No, she said, shaking her head softly. Outside. He stared at her, not moving. She continued. You are a young man now. Your father would want you to learn responsibility. Staying here will not help you grow. You need to be independent. Chima's chest tightened. Auntie, this is my father's house. Exactly, she replied quickly. Your father's house. And he has given me the house. Chima, I'm not pushing you away. I'm guiding you. The smile she added after that made Chima feel colder inside. She leaned forward. I already spoke to someone about your room. A young man who needs a place urgently. So you'll have to pack your things today. Her words hit him like a slap he didn't see coming. Today, he repeated. Yes. She stood up. It's for your own good. You can take your clothes and any personal items. I'll even give you small money for transport. Chima looked at her quietly. He tried to see if she was joking, but her eyes told a different story, one that had been planned for a long time. I don't have anywhere to go, he said slowly. You will find somewhere, she answered, smooth and final. You're a man now. These things build strength. There was no space for discussion, no room for a plea. She had already made up her mind. As she left the room, her footsteps were light, almost relieved. Chima remained seated, feeling the weight of his father's last words grow heavier. The papers in my study. Don't forget. Now he understood something clearly. Auntie Amaka wanted him gone fast. And whatever his father left for him was more important than he realized. Chima sat still for a long moment after Auntie Amaka left the sitting room. Her words kept ringing in his ears, each one sounding clearer than before. Pack your things today. You will find somewhere. Your room is already taken. He finally stood up and walked slowly to his room. The room felt smaller than usual, as if it already knew he wouldn't be sleeping there again. His clothes were still neatly folded in the wardrobe. His school bag was by the corner. His father's framed picture lay on the bedside table. Chima picked up the picture first. He held it close, taking in Chief Obinna's warm smile. Papa, he whispered, I don't know what is going on, but I will try. He opened his school bag and began packing quietly. Shirts, trousers, a few books, and the picture. He folded everything with shaky hands. He didn't have much, but every item carried a piece of the life he once knew. There was a soft knock on the door. The house driver, Okachukwu, stepped in. His expression was sad. Chima, Madam asked me to help you carry your bags downstairs. Chima nodded. Thank you. They carried the 2 bags to the parlor. Auntie Amaka was already standing near the door, dressed in a wrapper and holding her phone. Her face was calm, almost too calm. Are you ready? She asked. Chima nodded. She opened her purse and brought out a small amount of cash. She held it out between two fingers. Take. Use it for transport. I wish you well. He hesitated, then collected the money. Thank you, Ma. Okechukwu carried the bags to the car. Chima followed quietly. The house workers watched from a distance, whispering, but no one came closer. Inside the car, Chima kept his eyes on the ground as the gates opened. He had passed through those gates many times with joy. Today felt different, empty. Where should I drop you? Okechukwu asked. Anywhere around town, Chima replied. I'll find a place. The driver shook his head lightly. I'm sorry, my boy. It's not your fault, Chima said. The car stopped near a busy junction. Okechukwu helped him place the bags on the ground. He looked like he wanted to say more, but simply sighed and drove away. Chima watched the car leave, the small cash folded tightly in his palm. He lifted his bags and took a step forward. He had no home now. No plan. Only his father's last words guiding him. Check the papers in my study. Don't forget. Papa, I won't forget, he whispered. And with that, his new life began on an Abuja roadside. As Okechukwu drove back into the compound after dropping Chima, Auntie Amaka was already standing on the balcony. She watched the gates close, her arms folded, her face relaxed in a way Chima had never seen. The moment the car parked, she turned and walked briskly into the house, the fake calmness she had been wearing all morning disappearing completely. Inside the sitting room, she dropped her phone on the center table and let out a long, satisfied breath. At last, she murmured. Everything is settled now. She untied her wrapper and changed into one of her colorful house gowns. The relief in her posture was clear, like someone who had been pretending for too long and could finally breathe. Her sister Nkem called right on time. Amaka, she said immediately. How far? Has he gone? Amaka smiled and sat comfortably. He has left. I told you he wouldn't give me trouble. These soft children don't know how the world works. Nkem laughed. I trust you. So now the house is yours. Amaka looked around the sitting room with slow satisfaction. Yes, everything is mine now. The house, the cars, the accounts. All the things that woman refused to enjoy before she died. I will enjoy them. You deserve it, Nkem said. After all those years. Amaka's smile widened. You don't even understand. I have plans. I will change the furniture. I'll repaint. I'll bring in new things. I have suffered enough. It's my time. She stood and walked toward Chief Obina's old study door. She touched the handle lightly. Even this place, it is now my own. Nkem laughed again. You sound happier than someone that just buried her husband. Amaka shrugged. Life moves on. We all know why I married him. At least it paid off. She ended the call and began moving around the house, touching things, opening cabinets, making mental notes. She removed the framed picture of Chima from the shelf and placed it aside without a second thought. This house will change, she said. No more reminders. She walked upstairs, humming. In her mind, she was already redecorating every corner. New curtains, new chairs, new bedsheets. She even imagined hosting friends soon, letting them see the new life she had finally secured. To her, everything was under her control. In her mind, nothing could shift her position again. But she didn't know that the one thing she ignored, Chief Obina's locked drawer, held the key to ending her celebration. For now, Amaka rested comfortably in her new reality, not knowing the real story of the house had only just begun. While Auntie Amaka was busy planning her new comfort, Chima was sitting on a long wooden bench in a church compound at the edge of town. He had dragged his 2 bags there after leaving the junction, unsure of where else to go. His small transport money was already reducing. A young man from the church approached. Bro, are you looking for a place to stay? Our shelter is open today. Chima nodded. The man led him to a small hall behind the church. Inside, simple mattresses were arranged on the floor. A few men were lying down, some sitting with their heads bowed. No one looked up when Chima entered. You can take that space, the man said. If you have any small offering, fine. If not, don't worry. Chima thanked him quietly. He sat on the mattress and placed his bags beside it. Everything felt strange. Yesterday, he had been in his father's big house. Today, he was in a hall with strangers. He wondered how things changed so fast. He opened his school bag and removed his father's framed photograph. The glass had cracked slightly. Chima wiped it gently. Papa, he whispered, I don't know how to start this new life. The men around him continued their quiet activities. Some whispered prayers. Others lay with tired eyes. Chima noticed how different they were from the people he grew up around. Here, no one cared about looks or class. Everyone carried some form of pain. One older man beside him cleared his throat. "My son," he said softly, "you're new here. Don't worry. Many of us came here the same way, suddenly." Chima nodded, not trusting himself to speak. "It's tough at first," the man added, "but you will adjust. Just keep your mind strong." Chima managed a small smile. When night reached the hall, the volunteer switched off the lights, leaving only a dim bulb. Chima lay down, staring at the ceiling. He turned the picture face down so it wouldn't break further. He closed his eyes, but one thought kept returning. "Check the papers in my study." That voice, his father's voice, was the only thing giving him strength in a place where he had nothing else. In that shelter, surrounded by strangers, Chima made a silent promise. He would survive long enough to find out what those papers meant. Chima woke early the next morning in the church shelter. The sound of men preparing for the day filled the hall. Some tied their shoelaces, some packed their small bags. Chima sat up slowly, his back stiff from the thin mattress. He folded his father's picture in a cloth and kept it safe before washing his face outside. He had no plan, but he knew he needed to move. Staying in one place wouldn't change anything. A volunteer gave him bread and a small drink. Chima thanked him and walked to the main road. The bags slowed him, but he kept going. He approached the first office building. "Good morning, sir," he said to the security man. "Please, I'm looking for any job." "There's nothing here," the man replied. "Try the next place." Chima nodded and moved on. By noon, he had asked in almost 10 places, shops, business centers, delivery offices, but everyone said the same thing. "No job, leave your number, come back later." He tried a construction site next. The foreman stared at his soft hands. "You never do this kind of work before. Carrying blocks is not beans. Try somewhere else." Chima stepped back. He wasn't angry, just tired. He rested on a block nearby and wiped sweat from his forehead. The workers lifted heavy materials with ease. Chima felt small, but he got up and continued walking. Later, he entered a printing shop. The elderly owner looked up. "Good afternoon, sir," Chima said. "Even if it is cleaning or arranging things, I can do it." "My boy," the man said kindly, "I don't have space now. But don't give up. Something will open." Chima managed a small smile. "Thank you, sir." He stepped outside and sat on the shop steps. His legs were tired, his stomach empty, and his hope thinning. But his father's words returned. "Check the papers in my study." Chima closed his eyes. The papers may be the key to something. Maybe his father had seen this day coming. He stood and continued down the road, determined not to stop. Chima continued walking until his legs felt heavy. Every shop and office gave the same response, no job. But he refused to return to the shelter without trying one more place. By late afternoon, he reached a small fast food restaurant in Woods. The smell of frying food drifted out each time the door opened. Chima hesitated, then walked in. "Excuse me," he said softly to a girl behind the counter. "Yes. Do you want to order?" "No, please, I'm looking for work. Anything, cleaning, washing, serving." The girl blinked, surprised, then went to the back. A man in a brown apron came out. "The manager." "You're looking for work?" he asked. "Yes, sir." "Anything at all. Have you worked in a restaurant before?" "No, sir. But I will learn fast." The manager scratched his chin. "Someone didn't show up today. We're short-staffed." He studied Chima again, then nodded. "Okay. If you're ready to work, follow me." Chima's relief was almost visible. "Yes, sir." "Thank you, sir." The manager led him to the back where dirty plates were stacked high. "Start with these. If you work well for 1 week, we'll talk about proper employment. For now, we'll give you small money daily." "I understand, sir." Chima rolled up his sleeves and went straight to work. The plates kept coming. Staff rushed around him, calling orders, grabbing clean dishes as soon as he washed them. A young staff member, Ibuka, tapped his shoulder. "Don't worry. First day is always like this. You'll get used to it." Chima nodded, hands still moving. By evening, his back ached, and his fingers were wrinkled. But he felt a small spark of relief. It wasn't comfort, but it was a start. When the manager handed him a small amount for the day, Chima bowed slightly. "Thank you, sir." Outside, tired but grateful, he whispered, "Papa, I'm trying. I won't give up." And deep inside him, the reminder stayed firm. "Check the papers in my study." The next afternoon, Chima reported for his shift at the fast food place. His arms were still sore from the previous day, but he pushed through, determined not to lose the only opportunity he had found since leaving home. He washed plates, wiped counters, and cleared trays without complaint. During the lunch rush, the restaurant filled up quickly. Chima stayed at the back, helping the kitchen staff catch up. At one point, he carried a tray of clean plates to the front. As he passed by a table near the corner, he heard a firm voice say, "If there is a newer will, that's the one the court recognizes." Chima stopped without meaning to. The words hit him sharply, like something aimed directly at him. He lowered the tray slightly and listened. Two men in suits were eating and talking loudly, their files open on the table. They looked like lawyers. The first man continued, "People don't know the law well. Once a new will is properly signed and witnessed, forget the old one. It's automatically cancelled." The second man nodded. "Exactly. And if the new will is hidden or ignored, it can still overturn everything, even months after someone dies." Chima's heart started beating faster. His hands felt weak, but he held the tray tightly. A new will. Hidden. Able to change everything. He remembered his father's voice, clear and urgent. "Check the papers in my study." Chima swallowed hard. Something inside him clicked into place. The first lawyer picked up his drink and added, "The key is proof. If the deceased left the document in a safe place, and it matches witnesses' signatures, the law will honor it." Chima stood frozen for a second longer before Ebuka whispered from behind him, "Oya na, return those plates before manager shouts." Chima nodded quickly and went back to the kitchen, but his mind was no longer in the restaurant. A hidden will. A locked drawer. His father's final words. Everything suddenly made sense. After closing time, Chima collected his small payment for the day. He stepped outside the building, holding the cash in one hand and his bag in the other. But unlike the past few days, he wasn't drained. He felt alive, sharp, with a kind of hope he had not felt since leaving his father's house. He stood by the roadside, breathing steadily. "Papa," he whispered, "you left something for me. I understand now." For the first time since his father's burial, Chima knew what he needed to do. The papers in the study were not ordinary. They were the beginning of the truth, and he would find a way to see them. Chima walked back to the shelter that evening with a different kind of strength in his steps. The words he overheard at the restaurant kept replaying themselves like a message sent directly to him. A newer will can cancel the old one. If the document is hidden, it can still change everything. He reached his mattress quietly, sat down, and placed his father's picture beside him. The cracked frame no longer filled him with sadness. It felt like a sign that something bigger was waiting. For the first time since leaving the house, his thoughts were clear. The papers in the study were not just ordinary papers. His father had wanted him to see them urgently. And Amaka had been too calm, too ready, during the reading of the will. Something wasn't right. Chima drew in a slow breath and began to think carefully. He knew one thing for sure. He couldn't just walk into the house and demand anything. Amaka would never allow him inside. She would chase him away instantly, probably call security or even the police. He needed a different approach. He lay back on the thin mattress and began studying every memory he had of the house. The movement of workers. The routines. The way the days flowed. He remembered that the cleaners usually came once a week. The gardener arrived every 2 days. The security men changed shifts 3 times daily. And Amaka, she loved going out. She hardly stayed home for a full day. Chima sat up again. He needed to understand her routine. The next afternoon, after work at the restaurant, he took a bus toward Maitama. He didn't go too close to the gate, but he positioned himself in a small spot across the road where he could watch without being noticed. Soon, the gate opened and Amaka drove out. Her car disappeared down the road. A cleaner arrived an hour later. A grocery delivery van came soon after. Chima stayed until evening, watching quietly. Every small detail mattered. If he was going to see what his father hid, he had to find the right moment. The staff didn't know he was there. The security men didn't glance in his direction. He blended into the background, just another person minding his business. When the sky darkened, he stood up, his plan forming more clearly. He would not break in. He would not cause trouble. But he would be ready for the moment Amaka left the house long enough for him to enter. It might take days. It might take weeks. But Chima was no longer confused. He whispered to himself as he left the area quietly. "Papa, I'm coming for the papers. I understand your message." And for the first time since everything collapsed, he felt truly prepared. And that's the end of today's tale. We hope it brought a smile, a thought, or a little bit of magic to your day. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe to Tales Vibe for more weekly tales, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We love hearing from our story family all around the world. Until next time, keep your heart open, your imagination alive, and remember, laughter and lessons always go hand in hand. See you in the next story.